on Bhagavad Gita. We'll be singing a small kirtan. Kirtan means it's a process of devotional service where we sing devotional hymns and one person leads and the other repeats. So we'll be singing this hymn which is written on this board. So I hope it's visible to everyone. So if not, you can come a bit closer so that you can see what's in it, and you can. I'll just sing the first line and you all can repeat after me. Jaya good to see some regulars and also some new faces today. So, yes. So today we'll be discussing from Bhagavad Gita as it is. So, but I have a specific theme for today's lecture. Since it is New Year, what do people think on New Year's? What brings up when one thinks of New Year's? One song. Happiness? Okay. New beginnings. And what else?
Used to be hangovers in the past.
I think it's
but no
still.
longer.
Is it no longer?
Well, not for me.
Yeah, that's true. Hangovers. Yes. Especially after the 31st
Yeah.
night, yeah. Okay, what else?
Reflection. Time of reflection.
Time of reflection. Yes, that's a good one. Time of reflection. What else? What else on New Year? What do people think of doing on New Year's?
Party.
Party? Yes, party, of course. Yes, party. Yeah, we got some new nice answers actually. Yes, good.
Making promises to yourself.
Promises, yeah. Oh, you're close to what I was thinking of. Saxena, have you gotten it?
According to English, it's the 1st of January only. Taking back, it's the first verse of the Bhagavad Gita, Dharam Kshetra Samveta. Samvat is 57 years ahead. And what? And it's like to that. Dharam Kshetra Samveta Vilsam. So Samvat is 57 years ahead. So you could add this year plus 57, that is good. Going back to the years plus 30.
Yeah, that sounds a bit interesting, bro. We'll have a discussion on it. Yes. Okay, Kiran, let's get back to you. So what's the specific word they use for promises?
What's it? Oh God. Resolutions.
Resolutions, yes. So the theme of today's lecture is going to be on how can we stay intact with our resolutions. I've made a picture actually, so I'll just put it up. I thought I won't put it up until I get the answer from everyone, so I thought I'd engage everyone in the lecture, so let me put it up on the screen. Yes. Can everyone see that one? Yeah. So today we are going to learn a very important lesson from this little sparrow which you see here in the below. So this sparrow is going to inspire us today in keeping up with our resolutions. How even a little sparrow can even shake the whole universe. So strong, our resolutions can be, So I also share this on the internet so that those who are watching it online can see this picture. Okay, now even those who are watching it online, they can see the image now. So how to keep up with one's resolutions. So the verse we are going to discuss today is Bhagavad Gita chapter 6, which is Jnana Yoga, and we are going to discuss the verse number 24. I'll bring this up on the screen as well.
Six 24.
Yeah, I put it up on the screen as well. Okay, is it on the screen?
Yes.
Okay. So I read it. First, let's recite each word from this verse, and then we'll recite the whole verse, and then we can go through the word-to-word meanings and translation, and also the purport. Okay. Yeah. So please repeat after me. Sa nischayena yoktavyaha yogaha anirvinna chedasa sankalpa prabhavan kaman tyaktva sarvan asheshatah manasa eva indriya gramam vinayamya samantatah. Okay, now we'll be reciting each line. Sanischayena yoktavyo yogo nirvinna chedasa sankalpa prabhavan kamam tyaktva sarvam asheshatah manasayendriya gramam vinimya samantatah. One more time. Sa nischayena yoktavyo yogo nirvinna chetasa sankalpa prabhavan kamam tyaktva sarvan asheshatah manasayendriya gramam vinimya samantatah. Okay, would anyone want to take the lead to recite? Sanischayena yoktavyo yogo nirvinna chetasa sankalpa prabhavan kamam tyaktva sarvan asheshatah manasayendriya gramam vinamyam samantatah. Anyone else? Sanischayena yoktavyo yogo nirvinna chetasa sankalpa prabhavan kamam tyaktva sarvan asheshatah manasayendriya gramam vinayamya samantatah. Anyone else? Okay, so we move on to the word-to-word translation. So what each of these Sanskrit words mean. Saha, that, nischayena, with firm determination, yoktavyaha, must be practiced, yogaha, yoga system, anirvinna, chetasa, without deviation, sankalpa, mental speculations, prabhavan, born of, kaman, material desires, tyaktva, giving up, sarvan, all, asheshatah, completely, manasa, by the mind, eva, certainly, indriya, gramam, a full set of senses, vinayamya, regulating, samantataha, from all sides, translation, and purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. I'll read out the translation first and then we can then you all can repeat out as well. First I'll read it out in full. One should engage oneself in the practice of yoga with determination and faith and not be deviated from the path. One should abandon without exception all material desires born of mental speculation and thus control all the senses on all sides by the mind. It's a very powerful verse. So, please repeat after me. One should engage oneself in the practice of yoga with determination and faith and not be deviated from the path. One should abandon without exception all material desires born of mental speculation and thus control all the senses and on all sides by the mind. Okay, I'll read out the purport. Now, this little sparrow which we were speaking of in the beginning, he will come in this purport now. You will see how he has conquered the ocean with his strong resolution. Okay, purport by Srila Prabhupada. The yoga practitioner should be determined and should patiently prosecute the practice without deviation. One should be sure of success at the end and pursue this course with great perseverance, not becoming discouraged if there is any delay in the attainment of success. Success is sure for the rigid practitioner. Regarding Bhakti Yoga, Rupa Goswami says, Utsahan Nischayat Dhairyat Tat Tat Karma Pravartanat Sangatyagat Sato Vrittehi Shadmir Bhakti Prasiddhyati. One should execute the process of Bhakti Yoga successfully with full-hearted enthusiasm, perseverance, and determination by following the prescribed duties in the association of devotees and by engaging completely in activities of goodness. Upadeshamrita 3. Here comes the sparrow. As for determination, one should follow the example of the sparrow who lost her eggs in the waves of the ocean. A sparrow laid her eggs on the shore of the ocean, but the big ocean carried away the eggs on its waves. The sparrow became very upset and asked the ocean to return her eggs. The ocean did not even consider her appeal, so the sparrow decided to dry up the ocean. She began to pick up the water in her small beak, and everyone laughed at her for her impossible determination. The news of her activity spread, and at last Garuda, the gigantic bird, carrier of the Lord Vishnu, heard it. He became compassionate toward his small sister bird, and so he came to see the sparrow. Garuda was very pleased by the determination of the small sparrow, and he promised to help. Thus Garuda at once asked the ocean to return her eggs, lest he himself take up the work of the sparrow. The ocean was frightened at this and returned the eggs. Thus the sparrow became happy by the grace of Garuda. Similarly, the practice of yoga, especially Bhakti Yoga and Krishna consciousness, may appear to be a very difficult job. But if anyone follows the principles with great determination, the Lord will surely help, for God helps those who help themselves. Okay, let's put the sparrow back on the string. before we start our discussion, I'll just offer a few prayers and then we'll discuss. Om Atyan Tilan Signanam Shalakaya Chaitanya Nam Krishna Sthapitam Yena Bhutali Swam Rupa Dhamma Smatarantam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Prabhupada Shri Guru Vaishnava Shri Sakrajati Sarvam Thanidantam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijasaitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Dāsa Gita Shri Vishakhamritam Sri Rama Vishnu Pada Krishna 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 Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Vachari Nirvishesha Shramya Vadi Paschatya Deshatarani Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Radhara Shri Vasari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So, as we are discussing from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, and many of you are here for the first time. So let's understand what Bhagavad Gita is. So Bhagavad Gita is a very prominent literature all over the world. Perhaps it is noted that it is the most sold religious literature in the world after Bible. And it's very prominent. Even great personalities like Einstein and all the great mathematicians, and even the present day famous people like Will Smith and others, even they too take teachings from Bhagavad Gita. And it's expected even greatest leaders like Gandhi and others, they got this inspiration from Bhagavad Gita. So it's a very valuable book, very inspirational book. It has given motivation and inspiration to many people in the past, many people in the present, and many in the future. So Bhagavad Gita, what is Bhagavad Gita? Bhagavad Gita, the name itself, Bhagavad Gita, means Bhagavad comes from the word called Bhagavan, which refers to the absolute personality of Godhead, Krishna, the supreme personality of Godhead, Bhagavan. And Gita means song. So Bhagavad Gita is the song of Bhagavan. So, that is Bhagavad Gita. So whatever Krishna speaks, it's very poetic, because in the spiritual world, whatever we speak, it's like a song. So here Krishna has spoken. So it is in a very poetic language. Bhagavad Gita is even sung. So it's very sweet. And Bhagavad Gita is a song spoken by Krishna, but it is actually indeed a conversation which took place 5,000 years ago in a place called Kurukshetra in India. So 5,000 years ago, there was a great war which was taking place, and that's called the Mahabharata. Anyone from India will be very familiar with this word Mahabharata. Mahabharata means the great, Maha means the great, and Bharat means India. So in those days, in India, which we see on the map today, is not jurisdicted to this small part of land which we see, but it was quite extended from the Middle East of Asia to the southeast of Asia. So it was so big. It was a quite large bit of the world, And this Mahabharata means the great India, it's like the greater India. And it is especially a war which took place between two parties. And that war, the reason for that war is to establish a righteous person as the emperor of the world. A righteous person, a person who is religious, who is sane, and who can give proper guidance, for the advancement of the civilization. So, in order to participate, so we got these two parties, desiring to fight. So, on one side, you got And this is a war which is happening within the same family. But the same royal family was so influential that all the kings in the world have assembled in this one place to support both the parties. So some kings were supporting one party and some other kings are supporting the other party. So in this way, it's called Mahabharata, the Great War, the Great India. And there, on one side, you got one of the finest and greatest warrior called Arjuna. He was so great that the Supreme Lord Krishna, Bhagavan, who spoke Bhagavad Gita, was riding his chariot. So if you see the books which you all got, if you see the cover page, you see two people. One, in the chariot. So one is riding the chariot, and the other is, behind the driver, who is preparing to shoot the arrow. So this is the Bhagavad Gita, is the conversation between these two people. And so before, as you see, the warrior is preparing to shoot the arrows. The warrior is Arjuna, and sitting before him was Krishna. So before the war started, this person, Arjuna, he got quite perplexed. Why? Because, the same people with whom he spent his whole life, his cousins, his fathers, his grandfathers, his uncles, and everyone, with whom he spent his whole life, now he is in a situation where he has to fight against them. It is said that the greatest battles are fought with, whom we think as us, We have the greatest battles. So now he is completely perplexed, He lost all his composure, his bow, with which he had won many battles in the past, now it's slipping from his hand. And, it comes to a point where he thinks that I am going to give up this war. Sometimes we fail certain situations in our lives where we feel like, I can't take it anymore. I'm just going to give up. It's going over my head. Situations are beyond my control. So this great warrior Arjuna, who was such a great warrior that he was famous all over the world, even till today, he was in such a perplexed situation that he, being such a great personality, got the thought of giving up, although he was capable of fighting a war. So this is a lesson which we can learn, that we are also in our lives, we go through certain situations where we think that, I'm going to give up, But, we learn from Bhagavad Gita how Krishna, who was riding his chariot, has enlightened him to come out of his ignorance, to come out of his perplexities, to come out of his anxieties, to come out of his confusions in life, and gave him the motivation and inspiration to fight the war. Similarly, Krishna is giving that same kind of inspiration, motivation, that enthusiasm for us, who are facing little challenges compared to what Arjuna has faced. He had to fight a whole war, and there's always a risk of dying. We may not face that same kind of difficulty, that same kind of, the situation. But we too in our lives face some little battles, Life is like a battle. But where do we get the right inspiration from to fight all these little battles in our life? So Bhagavad Gita is the book which gives us that inspiration which we need to fight these little wars in our life, little battles in our life, to overcome our own, Arjuna-like mindsets, that, we can't do it, it's over our hands, I'm going to give up. Bhagavad Gita is the book which is going to give us that enthusiasm to keep going forward. And ultimately, Bhagavad Gita teaches us how to surrender to Krishna and, make our lives a success. one of the first teachings which Krishna gives to Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita, if you see, right at the beginning, to bring Arjuna out of this kind of anxiety, the confusion, fear, all this is to remind him that he is not this body. A lot of times we get into so many problems, and sometimes people think, let me just commit suicide, That is the end of all the problems, because there won't be any things that I need to deal with. I'll be completely relieved of everything. Okay, to that person who is thinking that let me commit a suicide to get rid of all problems, to be honest, is in fact right, in the sense that all the problems which we face in our lives are because of the bodies which we have. But to give up one's body is not the solution. So we think of giving up this body because we think that we are the body. So let's get rid of ourselves so that we can get rid of all the problems we face as well. But that is not the solution, because that puts us in further more problems in life. But the actual understanding is that we are not this body. So when we are, our identity is not with the body. So we, as we learn from Bhagavad Gita, are the spirit soul. It's written, we are that particle which is within the body and which controls the body. But we are not the body. And it's explained that by the destruction of the body, the soul is not destroyed. In the sense, we remain even after the destruction of the body. So here, Arjuna is thinking that he's going to fight with his uncles, grandfathers, maternal uncles, and brothers, cousins, so on. But he's seeing everything in relation to his body. Certain person is my uncle because, he and I are born in the same family. Certain person is my father because we are related. So these are all called bodily relations. But once we give up this body, those relations don't exist. All the relations exist in relation to the body. But once the body is given up, the relations doesn't exist anymore. So this is one of the first teachings Krishna gave to Arjuna to relieve himself from his anxieties. He's thinking, first, his question was, how can I fight with my cousins? Who are all these cousins? These cousins don't exist anymore. You existed before, you accepted this body, and you will exist after giving up this body. And while you have this body, you have this so-called cousins, brothers, mothers, fathers, grandfathers, and so on. But once you give up this body, so in first teaching, he just vanished all the anxiety which Arjuna was facing. So similarly, we also face so many problems in life. But if we see from a holistic point of view, it's all because of the body. But once we try to differentiate ourselves with the body, and see with the eyes from the teachings of Bhagavad Gita, we see that actually all these problems which we are facing are not so much actually. We are above all these problems. And of course, there are so many problems, but actually there are four main problems which require our attention. There are so many problems, it's okay, they keep coming along. But there are four important problems which require our utmost attention. And those are birth, death, old age, and disease. So when the soul comes into this material world, it accepts birth and gains this material body. And while we have this material body, we get so many diseases, and at the end, the body tends to perish, and at the end, we die. So these are amongst the thousands and thousands of the problems which we face in life. These four problems are the most important problems. And if we can solve these four problems of life, our life is successful. And how to solve these four most important problems in life, the teachings come from Bhagavad Gita. So that's why this Bhagavad Gita is very important in our life. And that's why we conduct these Sunday programs, to give an opportunity for all the people, so that they can come and hear and take this motivation, inspiration from Bhagavad Gita and face the challenges of the world and face the internal challenges as well, and solve these four biggest problems in our lives, which are birth, death, old age and disease. So if we can't solve these problems, there's no point of living in this world. We are just living like animals. Animals cannot solve these problems of life. It's only human beings who have the intelligence. In the Vedic literatures, there's this verse, Ahara nidra vayamagnamcha samanyameta pashubhir samana dharmo hitesham adhiko vishesham dharmena hina pashubhir samana. There are four things which both humans and animals they do. That is eating, sleeping, mating and defending. So animals do these things, human beings do this as well. But if the human being and animal does only these things in his life, he's not different from an animal. But there is something which differentiates a human being from an animal, and that is the ability to inquire and acquire knowledge, and the ability to be religious and sane, sanity. Animals do not have the intelligence to inquire about the higher purpose of life, whereas the human beings, they have been gifted this power to inquire and solve these most important problems in life. So, as we have got this ability to inquire, we need to use this in solving these great problems in life. So, another thing which I wanted to focus, as in this verse we are speaking about yoga. So, Bhagavad Gita teaches us yoga. So, what is yoga? Yoga means connection. We need to connect. We are connected to something or the other. Now, after the revolutionary social media, we are always connected, either in Facebook or Instagram or WhatsApp. So, the nature. So, everyone has to be connected to something in life, from which we gain inspiration. And that is, we call it in Sanskrit as yoga. But the ultimate connection which we have is with God, with Krishna. So that is the perfection of yoga. The ultimate perfection of our connection is to re-establish our relationship with Krishna. It is said in the Vedic literatures that Jiver Swarup Hoy Krishna Nityadas. Our nature as living beings, as living souls, is we are the servant of Krishna. It's our nature to serve something. As a family member, we are serving the family. As an employee, you are serving your employer. As a mother, you are serving the child. So it is the nature of the living entity to serve someone. But the actual, how can I say, the actual point or the actual object of our service is not the temporary relations which we have in our life. Of course they are important, but the actual object of our service is the Supreme Lord Krishna. And because we are not directed to that objective, we serve so many things in life. And of course, we delve into so many miseries and so on. So, we need to re-establish our actual connection with Krishna. So that is yoga. So there are different types of yoga. So one may say that, I want, connection through my work. So I want to establish connections through working, and I'll get my results. So that kind of connection is called karma yoga. So some may want to re-establish their connection by means of yogic processes, like You know, if you've been to a yoga class, we have Kiran here, who's a yoga teacher. You know, we do things like asana, pranayama, you know, namaskars and everything. So this is called hatha yoga. So these are usually practiced by the yogis, you know, who try to see the Supreme Lord in one's heart by means of yoga. So that process is called hatha yoga. And similarly, you know, but ultimately the actual perfection of yoga culminates in bhakti yoga. Bhakti means devotional service. So by means of bhakti yoga, we try to establish our relationship with Krishna by the process of hearing and chanting, which we were doing before. So as you know, this verse, you know, it says about yoga. Let me put back the verse actually. So I hope you all understood what actually yoga means. You know, to establish the connection with the Supreme. So now, how one should practice yoga? This verse tells that one should engage oneself in the practice of yoga with determination and faith, and not be deviated from the path. One should abandon, without exception, all material desires born of mental speculation, and thus control the senses on all sides by the mind. Okay, the whole point of today's lecture is about resolutions, right? So why are we discussing? This is just to give an introduction of, you know, of each and every term, what it means, so that, you know, we are all on the same page. So when I'm speaking of yoga, so one might think that it's the yoga which they do in a yoga studio or something like that. So I just wanted to bring everything into context so that we can discuss, you know, this verse. So I hope now everyone has got a clear understanding of what Bhagavad Gita is, what yoga is, and everything. So yeah, so this time of the year when we're all, you know, trying to take resolutions in our life, in the sense we want to be serious in our lives. You know, we want to achieve something in our lives. You know, we don't want to be lazy and, you know, remain backward. Has anyone taken any resolutions yet this new year? Okay, we got a few hands up, so let's go ahead. Let's do it.
Yes, well, I want to lose weight, and therefore I want to try and eat healthier and cut down on the things that are not so good for me, like chocolate particularly. So that's one, and I want to be very regular with my running as well. So improve my health, basically.
Thanks, Guru. Anyone else? Yes, Guru.
I've been practicing that yoga, but I'm trying to improve it now.
What's that?
I've already been practicing that yoga for
Oh.
years.
Okay.
From about 1960.
Mhm.
The main gap now that trying to improve this.
Okay, you want to improve your hatha yoga. Yeah. Anyone else? Any resolution, Mataji?
Well, one was I want to lose weight, so I need to also think what I'm eating and to start doing some exercises.
Great.
The other one is to improve on my chanting, so to have some more time where I don't have to think about many things and try to focus solely on
Wow, it's amazing. Anyone else? Sure.
My New Year's resolution was to chant 8 rounds of japa a day, but so far I haven't done it yet at all. But I'd like to reassert that resolution and go from 4 rounds to 8 rounds.
Right. So hope today's lecture gives you that inspiration. That's the whole purpose. And who else? Who else? Ramesh?
I wanted to start journaling and being more honest and reflective about things that I'm doing, things that are going on in my head. It's been hard to get onto it. I've been wanting to do it for a long time. Still not done it.
resolutions. Well, I can share mine actually. Even I have taken one resolution this year that I won't get up anytime after 6. That's my resolution. So anyway, as all resolutions, I could only get up once. That was yesterday, and I couldn't manage to get up today, and my body was aching a bit. But yeah, so thanks for sharing all your resolutions. Anyone else? Did I miss anyone? So, have you taken any resolution yet? Yes? Share it. You don't want to share. You want to keep it to yourself. Okay.
She's afraid of taking it.
No problem. So generally people take resolutions like, I want to go to the gym. Similar resolutions say, I want to lose my weight, I want to stop smoking maybe. Some might think that I want to reduce alcohol, things like that. But what usually happens is, the resolutions stay, from the day of New Year to 1 full week, and then after that 1 week, it so happens unfortunately that all the resolutions, they get, diluted or slowed down, or people lose enthusiasm, in those resolutions. I personally heard many people, they think that, okay, this year I'm going to stop alcohol, and just after 1 to 2 weeks they start alcohol again. So, it's hard to keep up with one's resolutions. So today we are going to get an inspiration from how to keep up with our resolutions with the story of this little sparrow. So I think you all might have already understood it while we were reading the Prabhupada, but still I think I'll iterate it a bit more. Can you all see the picture? So he is this little sparrow who has also taken a resolution. And his resolution shocked the whole universe. So this sparrow, actually there are 2 versions of this same story. And I'll say 2 versions. But let's discuss the version which Prabhupada has given in the Prabhupada. So this story is taken from the book called Panchatantra, actually. So sometimes when we say pastimes from Bhagavatam, people usually think, oh, this cannot be real, this could be mythology or something like that. But actually, those are all not mythology or anything. Those are all part of the history. They did happen. But there are certain aspects of, stories in the Vedic literature which are taught and which are actually not true, which are mythological. Like this one, this story, it actually indeed it didn't happen. But this story was conveyed to give some motivation and inspiration. Actually, the whole, if you see the book Panchatantra, it's written by an author called Raja Pandit Vishnu Sharma. So, a king had 3 sons. But his sons weren't keeping up to the standard, of being the sons of a king. If you're a son of the king, you're expected to be like the king because you're going to take over the kingdom after, your father or so on. But these sons were actually foolish, They didn't even have common sense. So this king, he was very much worried, How can I, incent, or how can I make my sons a bit intelligent enough that, they can, they don't have an ordinary responsibility of looking after a family or things like that, but they have this huge responsibility of looking after a kingdom. A kingdom consists of millions of families, and whatever happens in a kingdom, the responsibility falls on the king. So this king, he had 3 sons, and all the 3 weren't intelligent enough to, even in their ordinary affairs, what to speak of ruling a kingdom. So he approached this sage called Vishnu Sharma, who was very prominent. And Vishnu Sharma, in order to teach these 3 kids, beginning with common sense, he told these stories which are in a book called Panchatantra. This story comes in the first chapter of the book. Panchatantra consists of 5 tantras. Pancha means 5 and tantra means, the lessons. I think I remember the 5 ones, but anyway, I read the whole book. I finished it last year. Yeah. So this anyway, I'm gonna say the pastime story as well. This is a story. So this bird which you see here. So this story is to prove how even a little sparrow with a strong determination can shake the whole world. So this little sparrow, it had its, this story is based on the Prabhupada. There are different versions of Panchatantra. So this version which Prabhupada had, has the story. I'll tell another version of as well of the same story. So that's also interesting. So this sparrow, it had laid its eggs on the shore of the beach, and it so happened by providence that the waves of the ocean came so forward that they took over the eggs of the sparrow. And the sparrow got so dismayed, it gives so much anxiety, it's like if something happens to a kid, it gives a lot of anxiety to the parents. But here, the little birds, they weren't even born yet, but still, even before their birth, the eggs were taken off. So it was in complete, breakdown situation for this sparrow. Yes?
Is it meant to still say how to keep up with all resolutions in the street?
Yes? Yeah.
Okay, but you said little bird. The bird's quite big, so.
There's a smaller one
That's
underneath.
one of them.
Can you see the little bird?
Is it? I can't see it from where I'm. Sorry.
Oh, wait, you
I can't see it from here.
You can't see it, right? If I can zoom it a bit, let me see. Can you see this?
I see water.
This side.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah.
You need to have more determination.
Right. Okay. So, right. Let me get back. So this sparrow has lost its eggs. So it requested the ocean to give back its eggs, but the ocean, it's like, it's like a crazy thing. How can you go and speak to the ocean and then ocean responds? It never happens. But this sparrow was so determined that if you don't give back my eggs, I'm going to dry the whole ocean out. And it's like a moth's desire to reach the moon. A moth cannot reach the moon. Similarly, this sparrow's determination, that we can take it as its resolution, to dry up the whole ocean. So, it had a small beak, a sparrow, maybe this size maybe, and what to speak of its beak, it's this small. So all it could take was a little bit of water from the ocean and put it on the shore. So it did it with such determination that, you see this big eagle. So this big eagle is the carrier of Krishna. So, and it's so powerful that even the greatest of the demigods, or the greatest of the fighters, they're afraid of this bird. So this bird thought, the news that this little sparrow was trying to dry up this ocean reached this bird, Garuda, and then Garuda at once came to rescue this bird, and it warned the ocean. Now if you don't give the eggs back, I'm going to help this bird to dry the whole ocean up. And when Garuda says something, he means it. In the sense, he's capable of drying up the whole ocean. So we can understand that this little determination from this little small bird has attracted the attention of the greatest bird in the whole universe. And that greatest bird in the whole universe helped this little bird fulfill its resolution. Anyway, there's another version, as I was saying, similar, the same story, another version is like, the same sparrow, the same story, which in the book I read was like, it's it's almost the same. It's just a little bit of difference here and there. That, this little sparrow, it closes its eggs, but it has few friends as well. There's a peacock. Actually, this sparrow's name is called Dhrudabrata. Dhrudabrata means one with strong determination. So this Dhrudabrata, this little sparrow, so after losing its eggs, he assembles with all the other birds, and he doesn't just try on his own, but he also tries with his other bird friends as well. So there was like another bird called Varshapreni, that means peacock. Peacock likes rain, so it's called Varshapreni. So like that, it gathered all its friends, and then they understood, they tried their best, they understood that they can't get anything out of it. So they go to their leader, who in this was Garuda actually. So when they go to Garuda and they request that, what can we do? We lost our eggs, the ocean has taken away our eggs, so we can't get back our eggs. Then at that time, what happens is a messenger from Lord Vishnu comes, to call Garuda, so that because he is the carrier of Lord Krishna. So to call him, I need to go somewhere, so come, pick me up. But Garuda refuses to go. He says that, how can I go when my own family is in problem? He considers all the other birds as his own family. So then Lord Vishnu himself comes and then asks, what's the problem? Then, the Garuda, he says that, well, what can I do? My little sparrow, it's so, so despondent, or it's so upset that, the ocean has stolen its eggs. So then, Lord Vishnu says that, okay, now I'll go with Garuda and I am going to dry up the whole ocean. Then, he goes with Garuda and he threatens the ocean that, ocean, if you're not going to give back the eggs of this little bird, I'm going to dry you up completely. And then, as the story goes on, the ocean agrees to give the eggs back. So this shows us the same point, that even a little resolution from a little personality like this sparrow can create so much, of an impact. That one can even threaten the whole ocean. So, okay, I think because we passed 5 minutes actually of the time. Let me finish. Let me finish off this point actually. So similarly, when we are practicing yoga, or especially bhakti yoga, we face so many problems, so many obstacles. Why take bhakti yoga? Even in our regular day-to-day lives, we face so many problems, and sometimes we tend to be we want to be more committed to whatever we are doing, and there are so many obstacles coming. But still, if we are determined, like this sparrow, whether it be our New Year resolutions, or whether it be our work commitments, whether it be our educational commitments, whether it be whatever commitments we have in our lives, we can be successful. And if we are determined, Krishna personally comes to help us. Like the other version of the story I said, Lord Vishnu himself came to dry up the ocean, to get the eggs back from that little sparrow. Similarly, if we are determined, if you see the purpose that Prabhupada gives in this verse, at the end Prabhupada adds a gem-like sentence like, God helps those who help themselves. So if you really want help from God, you need to be determined and help yourself. Push yourself for that goal. Then you'll get even God's mercy that attracts the mercy of Krishna. And okay, so Actually, I've passed 7 minutes of the time, so if there are any questions or reflections, they are welcome. Otherwise, I'll end the lecture here. Thank you. Yes, Nikhil.
All the five morals of the stories in the
I think the first one is called Mitra Bheda. How do conflicts between friends arise? That is the first tantra. And the second one is called Mitra Labha. You know how one can establish how good friends can help you in your life. If you have first tantra is how bad friends can destroy your life, and the second tantra is how good friends can improve your life. And the third one is called Kakolukiya, I think. It's about how, when and where we need to use diplomacy. Diplomacy is not always negative, but there can be a positive use of diplomacy as well. And Kakolukiya, and anyway, I can't remember the other two. So like that, there are 5 tantras. So he wanted to teach these 5 tantras to these 3 kids so that they can have the intelligence to rule the kingdom. Labdha Pranasha, the 4 fate of prophets, that's one. Yeah, anyway. Is that okay? Any more questions or reflections? Right, so if there are any,
Yeah. Just a reflection. When you are saying that we are serving in any way, we are serving someone as a parent, as a friend, if you're an employee, you are serving your employer. So that's our nature. To serve, and that is what we should understand. And the main thing that is to understand that we have selfishness. Because that's what the video of saying. Because we are part and parcel of Krishna. And the analogy, the best suits is that if you have your body and you say, okay, this is my head, okay, and you say, this is my head, but who am I? This is my head. It belongs to someone, me, but who am I? Similarly, we are part and parcel of Krishna. Like our hands belong to us. But how the hand can be like, in good hands. The hand, once it takes the food, it brings it to your mouth, and then the whole body gets it, and then by so doing, it also gets nourished. So this is an analogy. So when the food goes in the stomach, what happens? It is distributed to all parts of the body, and everything is healthy. But if the hand says no, I'm not going to do that. I'm separate from you. So chop the hair out. It's not connected with the body. Could it live? To die. To that part. So similarly, if we're not connected to Krishna, then won't so good.
yeah.
So that's how it is. So yeah, we have to be connected to Krishna. We're talking about yoga. Connect. So this is how we are connected to Krishna. Because we are part and parcel of it. And what is the hand doing? It's serving. And if you don't serve him, don't serve the me, then you're not going to get anything.
Yeah.
So basically everything that is there, the purpose is to serve. And that's how our nature is. So we should not be like saying, oh, why should I serve Krishna? Because in fact, Krishna he's the one who supplies everything. From him emanates everything. Everything comes from him. So whatever you desire, whatever it comes from him. Your intelligence, your memory, your experience, everything.
Yeah.
Everything comes from him. So because you are not have that knowledge, so that's why we look for things elsewhere, which is temporary. But what we get from Krishna is permanent.
Yeah. Thank you, Guru. I think I'll just add a few things. The this one. Actually, this analogy that you gave, like, you know, the most important thing in the body is the stomach. You know, if the hand is serving the stomach, you know, the whole body is nourished. Otherwise, you know, if the hand tries to satisfy itself by not nourishing the stomach, the whole body, the impact falls on the whole body. And this story actually comes from Panchatantra as well. That, you know, Prabhupada gives this. I mean, sometimes Prabhupada is told it as a story. It's actually a story actually. That, you know, once it happened that all the parts in the body went on a strike, thinking that why is the stomach the only person who is enjoying everything, you know, because the hands are providing food to the stomach, and then everyone is trying to satisfy the stomach. So it's like once it you know, the parts of the body, they thought, let's go on a strike. Why shall we serve the stomach? And then it so happened at the end that, you know, all the other parts of the body, they felt weak. Why? Because they failed to satisfy the stomach. So similarly, as Prabhu was emphasizing, that it's our nature to serve Krishna. So, you know, Krishna is like the stomach. You know, if we try to satisfy the stomach, our whole body is nourished. Similarly, if we try to satisfy Krishna, our whole existence as a spirit soul is nourished. You know, and there's another example which comes in the 4th canto of Bhagavatam. Just like, you know, when you want to nourish a tree, where do you pour the water on? You don't pour water on the leaves or the twigs or the branches or twigs or so on, but you give water to the roots. Similarly, you know, if you serve Krishna, the whole, you know, some people say that, you know, service to man is service to humanity, but service to God is a service to humanity. Yes, please.
Yeah, just it was just a practical question, really. You spoke about how you know, we make resolutions, and then within 1 or 2 weeks, even some of the people here said they haven't even, you know, we haven't even stuck to our resolutions yet. So if we make resolutions and they don't last very long, firstly, what is it that causes us to, you know, because we start off with all enthusiasm, right, I'm going to do this, but then something goes, we lose something. So why is it we lose our resolution, and what can we do to increase our resolution? I know you gave the example that the sparrow had the resolution, and because of that, you know, Garuda helped. And Prabhupada says in the purport that God helps those who help themselves, right? But what if we don't, you know, we don't have that determination, then Krishna won't help us. So what is it that causes us to lose it, and how can we retain or maintain that resolution?
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Professor. Very important question. And I thought there's one final point which I wanted to make. I thought I'll do it as a conclusion for this class, but this question, you know, prepares for the conclusion. So I just answered, and I'll probably, because that's my conclusion as well.
Sure.
Yes.
The research is in 1951, a small kid named Shyam Sharma. He became world famous. What happened where I am born, his father was supposed to blow the bugles 4 o'clock for the railway break, and he was supposed to go to school. So mother said, "You blow, my father is not good, so I won't." So because that he is not determined, I won't give you food. Mother, so what he said, they crushed the horse, chara we call this, in a grinding thing, so he started eating that in the hot power. And mother said, "Why don't you eat the food?" I don't ask. God told determination. And I will just show you how he went and start lying on the cycles and cars and ultimately the trucks. Okay? And first pure determination, when he set over, so he started eating blades, started eating bulbs, started eating tube lights. So it's normal. It's not normal. Just to give the mother lesson, and he presented, his strength was so good, he's got good health, that you know the shot put is the Olympic player.
Yeah.
So they throw, so they move the thing if somebody is going to be dead. So he presented medical school, nobody could let him just throw it. Okay? And he stopped right into the heart, and he's laughing. His strength was so good that many boxes.
Yeah, I try to understand that you were trying to emphasize
That's it.
how
I-
determination.
practically.
Yeah,
The last time I saw his life, his son got married in the Raman meeting.
yes.
But he got married to Puja Sharma.
Right. Okay, we'll try to conclude and we can discuss later on. So yeah, any more questions before we conclude? Okay, great. So Prabhu was asking like, what makes us lose our determination, to fulfill our resolutions, and how can we keep up that same determination throughout, so that we can keep up with our resolutions going forward. So, and this is what the whole lecture is about, that when we take certain resolutions, we lose our motivation to fulfill them. How can we keep up? So we saw the example of the sparrow, how with strong determination we can even create, such an impact, that we can even attract the attention of the Supreme Lord. So how to develop this determination and how to keep up with it? What are the key parameters, we can say, that can help us to retain the same enthusiasm, in keeping up with our resolutions. So here in the purport Prabhupada quotes, I'll probably share this on the screen. So here is the verse from the Nectar of Instruction. You can find the book in the shop. So it's a very beautiful book consisting of 11 verses, 11 instructions, and this is the third instruction of the verse. It's called Utsahan Nischayat Dhairyat Tat Tat Karma Pravartanat Sangatyaga Sato Bhakti Shadhir Bhakti Prasiddhati. So what this instruction says is there are 6 things which are favorable for devotional service. First is Utsahan, which means enthusiasm, and second is Nischayat, means determination, and the third is patience, and fourth is doing things which are favorable for devotional service, and the fifth is to get rid of unwanted association, and the sixth is following the ex-professionals path, the following the path chalked out by the professionals or the Mahatmas, and these 6 things help us in our spiritual life, and these things also help us in our material life. So that is the standard translations of what we see for this verse. But here, interestingly, Prabhupada translates this verse in a very different way. And that's what, answers this question of how we can keep up with our determination. So if you see this verse, it says, one can execute the process of Bhakti Yoga successfully with full-hearted enthusiasm, perseverance, and determination by following the prescribed duties in the association of devotees and by engaging completely in activities of goodness. So this is completely different translation of the third verse of Nectar of Instruction. So it says that if you want to retain your enthusiasm, if you want to retain or progress your enthusiasm, determination, and patience in executing whatever thing, whether it be devotional service, bhakti yoga, or even in your careers maybe, what you think is most important, or the 2 most important parameters which are important are following the prescribed duties in the association of devotees, and the second is engaging completely in the activities of goodness or activities of Krishna consciousness. So these 2 will help us. In this age of Kali Yuga, we get a lot of power, strength by association. Association is the key. So if we want to retain our enthusiasm, determination, patience, progress in our life, we need the association of the right people in our life. And if we, especially in Bhakta, if you want to become a Bhakti Yoga or yogi, you need the association of Bhakti Yogis who are also in the same path. And the second is engage in the activities of goodness. So the theme of the lecture is how to keep up in one's resolutions. So 2 things. Keep up, I'll just read out this thing. By following the prescribed duties in association of devotees, and by completely engaging in activities of goodness. If you keep up these two things, you can keep up with your resolutions, no matter whether they're New Year's resolutions or your career resolutions or whatever. So I'll finish my lecture here. So if there's anything, final words anyone wants to say, they can. And yes.
Couldn't by engaging in activities completely with goodness, couldn't that also mean
What's that? Couldn't that?
could that also mean being in the mode of goodness?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Activities in the mode of goodness. That is, if you want material success. But if you want success in your spiritual life, then that means Krishna consciousness. I hope that answers your question.
It does, thank you.
So,
Where is this translation from, by the way?
this is from the purport of the same verse actually. It's from chapter 6, verse 624.
Yeah.
So, it's quite interesting. I was quite amazed when I first read this translation because it's completely different. But
Yeah.
it's so well put that it makes sense. Right, so I'll stop it here. Thank you very much. And Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Shri Prabhupada ki
Jai.
jai. Bhagavad Gita as it is ki jai.
His Grace Vasuśrestha Prabhu.